How you going, guys? It is the Board Game Bully. It has been almost exactly 2 weeks since my surgery, so we're just trying to get back into the swing of things. Should call myself the board game, skinny boy, but we lost a little bit of weight. 5 kilos. It's so much. I need it back. But anyway, we're here with a review today, and we are, we are wasting my time and yours, because we're going to review 300, the board game. Spoiler alert. It's bad. Alright, so let's have a look at the delicious brown that this game is. And I want to zoom in something here real quick. Have a look, if you will, this section of the board here. This is supposed to be a mountain texture. Now look really closely at it. I'm just going to give you a couple of seconds. Have a look. Try and figure out what texture they've used. That's right, it's butcher's paper. It's brown paper bags that they've scrunched up, taken a photo of it and said, yeah, that looks like a mountain. I'm just going to give just a little tidbit here for any would-be game designers. Don't do that. Ever. That's a terrible idea. Just use a texture of mountains. Or get some art. Brown paper bags are not the option. Alright, and also before we get into a component review here, I just want to say this here is the perfect example of why you should not have first play rules. Firstly, your game is not as difficult as you think it is. Secondly, the people playing your game are not as stupid as you think they are. So just give them the rules. Because I've set this game up here today based on the first play rules, which thankfully we didn't play with the other night. Now, the first play rule takes out the decks of cards, so no decks of cards. Also takes out all of the Persian special units and a couple of the Spartan special units. And do you know what that means? Well, I'll tell you what that means. That means that there is no choices in this game. For the first playthrough of this game, you will not make a single choice. All you will do is roll dice. Now, if your game plays itself, and I would argue that even with the full rules, even with being able to use heroes, even with the card play, the game still primarily plays itself. But you take all of that out, I don't get to make an option. And I'll explain to you why you don't get to make an option. So you've got two players. You have the Spartans, you have the Persians. The Spartans are trying to get to 100 glory as quick as possible. The Persians are trying to either wipe out the Spartans, who have significantly less numbers, or have this token here, which is Aphilatus, you know, like the lumpy tumor boy. Trying to get him to get all the way to the end. So that means the game does have a countdown. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns in this game. Some would say 6 turns too many. So, what you do is you march. Now, Persians have no choice. Persians have to always attack, which means if there is any available spot on the board that Persian troops can move into, they must move into it. Now, an available spot also considers a spot controlled by Spartans. So right in the get-go, the first move is going to be these immortals here are going to try and move in to this space occupied by Leonidas. Now, each unit has health, each unit has attack. And I will show you that here. So these immortals, for instance, have 4 health, 4 attack, and when killed are worth 3 glory. Leonidas, for example, has 10 attack and 10 health. So he's a bit strong. And what will happen is this fight will trigger. Now, only 3 Persian units are allowed to attack into the Spartans when they are behind this red line here, indicating the hot gates and the less room to move. So what you'll do is you'll look at the attack of the Persians. The Persians can only attack with 3 units. All their units are the same, so we're just going to go with those 3 immortals in front. That gives them 12. Now there is now a battle chart in the top right-hand corner of the board, and that tells us if we have an attack power of 10 to 14, we get to roll 2 dice. So the Persians will be rolling 2 dice. We then do the same with the Spartans. The Spartans have 10, 14, 18 attack. So 15 to 19, they get to roll 3 dice. So what we do, Persians roll their 2. We'll move them to the left just so we can keep track. They get a 7. Spartans get a 10. Okay, so now we attribute damage. That's right, it doesn't matter who wins the rolls. It's just whatever you roll, that's how much damage you do. So the Persians have done 7. So our Spartan here has 4 health, so we're just going to straight up kill him. And that will go to the player playing the Persian, because they have no other way to keep track of their score, and the Spartan units don't replenish, whereas the Persian units do. So we've still got 3 damage to assign, so what we're going to do is we're going to assign it to our second Spartan. Now that won't kill him, so it will turn him over to his wounded side. Now, all Spartan units have a wounded side, however only Persian immortals have a wounded side. So that Spartan, his health now goes down to 3, but his attack goes up to 5. Now what's important to note is now that he is on his injured side, 1 damage will be enough to kill him. It can be a bit confusing. Why does he have 3 health? The reason he has 3 health is he can soak up to 3 damage, so you can assign him a full 3 damage before you have to assign damage to any other unit. Now, our Spartans attack back. So we have done, and it's important to note too that the player gets to determine where the damage goes. So the Spartan player gets to pick which Spartans are hurt, Persian player gets to pick which Persians are hurt. So we have done 10 damage, so that straight away kills 2 immortals and wounds another immortal. So that immortal, his attack stays the same, and he can soak 2 damage from now. So what we do now is we take these 2 immortals and we move them over here to the Persian camp. So when reinforcements need to be grabbed, being that one of these 2 spaces has less than 6 people in it, they will just go in order from the Persian camp. And then we would do the same here. And then the marching would continue. So let's just ignore this bottom row for now and just do the top row. So the marching continues. There are 2 empty spots here, so the Persian would be forced to move up 2 of his cavalry. He would then be forced to move 2 of his inventory into his cavalry. He would then be forced to take these 2 immortals and put them here. Again, as you can see, he has not made a choice yet. Now, Spartan character does the same, moves up, and then takes 1 from his reserve and moves up. That's the game. That is literally the game. You'll do it for each row. So you've got your A row and your B row. We just did it for the A row. We could do it for the B row, but what's the point? It's exactly the same. The only difference being is if Leonidas and his Spartans was to have had a monster roll and this spot was empty, he could then march out. He would get glory for moving into this space, but then he would be able to be attacked by all 6 Persians next turn. However, if he is able to make it forward again, you get even more glory, and if you can make it down to the end, even more glory. That's the game. You play for 6 rounds till the Spartans have 100 glory, or until they're all dead. Well, you play is arguable. You roll dice until that happens. So, a couple of quick things to look at that you will miss if you play the first play rules. The Persians do have a pretty cool unit here that you don't get to play with. The War Beast has 15 attack, 10 health. It does, however, take up the spot of 3 units. And you also have these cards here, which do pretty generic stuff. I've got the Persian card here. So the Persians can eliminate up to 3 Persian units or 1 war beast from a space that is behind the Persian battle space. Each piece eliminated in this adds half its attack. So sacrifice your troops in the back to bolster the attack in the front. The really important thing to notice about these though is these cards are disgusting. Like, so sharp corners, flimsy plastic. Like, there is no way to use or shuffle this card without irreparably damaging it. I'm done. Let's rate this. So, 300 the board game. It is a game that plays itself. Honestly, if it could figure out a way to roll the dice itself, then you wouldn't be required at all. There are no choices in this game. Yes, you do have a hand of cards, and you can play these cards, but these cards are so poorly balanced that, well, not poorly balanced, just poorly designed, that when we played the 4-player game and split the deck as the rules told us to, the person who was playing on my team had cards in his hand that he couldn't use because they specifically referenced a card under a character under my control. And we had given him the cards that the rules said to give him. We had given him the characters that the rules said to give him. We'd given me the cards that the rules said to give me. We gave me the characters that the rules said to give me. And somehow he had a card, I think he actually had 2, that required him to be in control of one of my characters. Which wasn't going to happen. I ain't giving you my character. Who do you think you are? Get out of here. You walk on, boy. Walk on. Now, when we were playing as the Spartans, at least we had, like, choices, you know, well, a choice. After the fight, if we'd managed to completely knock out a Persian square, we could march forward into the square. The Persian player? No choices. They have to attack. They have to march forwards. They have to take the next stack of resources and move them up. They have maybe like 1 or 2 choices, maybe on their second or third turn when it comes to when they want to put their heroes out with which reinforcements and things like that. But other than that, the game just plays itself, especially for the Persians. It just comes down to play a card. I mean, the cards are powerful, but they feel so gross in your hand and they have such sharp corners that you don't really want to deal with them. And roll the dice. It's horrible. So how do we rate this? Now, the rules are a funny one. The rules come on like 3 loose, glossy pages. That's right, they're not even stapled together. So you're definitely going to lose points for that. But because the game plays itself, and all the players at the table need to do is keep track of the score, the rulebook is really quite serviceable. It does what it needs to do, not because it's a good rulebook, but because it's a non-game. It'd be like... What would something similar... Okay, it'd be like if you had one of those little robot things that does the vacuuming in your house, and the instructions came and just said, turn it on. That's all you need. It's serviceable. I mean, it doesn't tell you much, and obviously a card that says turn it on isn't like the best set of rules ever written, but it's all you need. And that's kind of what the rules for this game are like. So I'm gonna have to... Again, it's printed on loose, glossy paper. 6. I don't know, 6. Accessibility, I think you could get some people to play this because of the theme. As a Greek person myself, I know plenty of Greeks out there. Yeah, Spartans, 200, yeah, I'm from there. You're not, shut up. But it's not. No one's going to want to play it again. And no one's going to want to play anything else with you either. But it's pretty accessible because the game says set up all the tokens like this, and then do this and do this, and then do this and do this and do this and do this, and don't make any decisions. So anyone could pick this game up and play it. So I guess accessibility-wise, it's got to be a 7. Has to be. It's not... Yeah. The artwork and components, abysmal. God awful. Chits terrible. The board, garbage. I nearly broke the board trying to fold the thing up. And I fold board game boards quite regularly, so it is not my fault. Cards. Just, it's like someone got a pizza box and cut out a bunch of cards from it. It's garbage. Garbage. 2. Garbage. And gameplay. Would I play it again? 1. No. So, that gives 300 a grand total of 4 out of 10. And to be honest, I think that's too high. I think if the rules weren't serviceable by default, and I think if the accessibility of the game, considering that you could put this game down in front of 2 monkeys and it would still play itself. It cheats. It gets some little cheat points in there. 4 out of 10. Garbage. I don't get rid of games from my collection. But I may get rid of this one. Garbage. I don't even know why I own this, to be honest. I have no idea if I paid money for this. I hope I didn't pay money for this. Sometimes I see things and I'm like, oh, that's going to be terrible. I need to buy it. Maybe that's what happened here. I have buyer's remorse. I hope someone bought this for me. Like a well-intentioned relative or something. This is really bad. Like really, really bad. Garbage.